I believe that the conscience of this House floor will be reflected in how we support our elderly.
Families with loved ones in nursing homes and assisted living facilities expect safety and care. But we found facility operators in Texas often face no penalty from state regulators when abuse happens under their roofs.
KXAN investigator Avery Travis explores why advocates are calling for more transparency and accountability, and at least one state lawmaker is calling it a top priority.
This is a plant that came from my mom. It's not blooming right now, but it will. These little buds will open into a flower about that big around. She taught me how to care for things and take care of them.
But after Billy Mullen's mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, he and his dad had to find help, people equipped to care for her. They decided to move her into an assisted living facility nearby.
It seems like the right place where we want to trust somebody to take care of mom.
It was hard on Billy's dad, so they installed a camera in her room for him to check on his wife.
I'm so glad we did that, because if we hadn't had that camera, there is no way that we would have known what happened to mom. She was hurt, you know, she was violated.
The Mullins family wanted KXAN to watch, but not show, footage from a night in March last year, when a staff member could be seen bringing her into her room, closing the door, and then, as it was later described in a police report, sexually assaulting her.
I saw it the next day and was disgusted and horrified and furious. But I can't imagine what my dad was feeling when he saw that happen to his wife, when he was already uncomfortable with not being there to protect her.
The family called police immediately, and the staffer was arrested and charged with a felony. The facility, which had hired and employed him at the time of the incident, was given no citations, according to inspection records from the state regulatory agency, the Health and Human Services Commission. That's because when surveyors came out 2 days later, the facility had addressed the issues, suspended the staffer, checked on Mullins every 15 minutes, and conducted safety surveys with the other residents. Surveyors with HHSC are tasked with citing nursing and assisted living facilities when they're out of compliance with state regulations. Everything from having functioning fire alarms to keeping safe food storage to preventing neglect and abuse. HHSC can fine a facility, suspend or revoke its license to operate, but not if the home has already taken steps to prevent or correct the violation, according to Texas code, by the time a surveyor arrives. Our review of nearly 4 years of inspection data reveals thousands of cases where the state found evidence of abuse. But in more than 70% of those cases, facilities faced no citations.
We understand things happen in nursing home facilities. We understand that mistakes happen. However, no slap on the wrist, nothing is unacceptable.
Andrea Earle with AARP Texas says there are cases where the state can't and shouldn't hold facilities liable for a bad actor.
Texas's job to draw a firm line when it comes to the safety of residents. It should never be on the family to have this burden of assuring safety.
In a previous report on long-term care, HHSC explained the number of incidents and complaints about overall violations soared during the pandemic, on top of an already increasing workload for staff over the last decade. And while neglect and abuse violations do not rank among the most common citations, a spokesperson for the agency says it's concerned about every allegation brought forward. According to state intake forms, when investigating a potential violation, surveyors can check a facility's personnel files, background check records, previous abuse and neglect investigations, as well as conduct interviews with staff and residents. The facility where Mullins lived had performed all the required background checks, according to HHSC, meaning the home had complied with all the state's regulations for hiring.
So we get the change we want initially because they fired this person, but the real issue is, did they change the way that they do business, right? Did they change the way that they hire people? Did they change the way they train people? Did they change the way they supervise people?
That's what attorney J.T. Bora hears from families who ultimately decide to sue a long-term care facility in civil court over neglect or abuse. While stopping the immediate threat is a step in the right direction, he says many families worry there could be more hidden harm.
We had a camera, but a lot of the rooms in that place don't. And I don't know how many people he cared for that night, the night before, the week before, the month before. Other facilities he's been employed at, I don't know.
Mullins wants a closer look at how facilities vet, train, and supervise employees, and accountability when they fail.
We'd like to see change. We'd like to help be agents of change.
Two statewide associations representing the skilled nursing and assisted living industries tell us these facilities take safety seriously, and most have protocols to prevent abuse. The Assisted Living Association says various surveyors and health officials are, quote, in these communities interviewing staff and talking to residents at both scheduled and unannounced visits as often as they want to be there. HHSC says these facilities are also required by law to have systems to identify and then respond to violations as they're discovered. When functioning properly, problems should then be identified quickly and resolved efficiently, often before surveyors or investigators even arrive.
And typically, Avery, how long does it take for those surveyors to even show up?
Jen, HHSC says it prioritizes how it responds based on the severity, but also the urgency of the allegations. For example, if they believe a threat is still active, surveyors would try to arrive within 24 hours of the state becoming aware. If the state suspects serious harm but the threat is not active, an inspection should happen on or before 14 days. And if it only suspects minimal harm, the time frame could be even longer. In fact, possibly surveyors' next scheduled visit. Our analysis found a link between the priority and the likelihood of facilities being cited. 70% of the highest priority cases resulted in a citation. For priority 2, with serious harm but no active threat, it was fewer than 40%. Susan Mullins' case was categorized as priority 2.
All right, Avery, thank you very much. And coming up tomorrow night on KXAN News at 10, we'll explore the legislative push to address some of these issues at the Capitol, including one lawmaker who wants more focus on the rights of older, vulnerable Texans.